What's up, and welcome to another Monday edition of Locked On NBA. The biggest stories, the local experts. I'm your new Monday host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be talking to David Locke of Locked On Jazz as the Jazz are riding a 7-game winning streak with the number 1 rated offense in the entire NBA. But first, let me tell you about Truebill. Truebill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions that you don't want or need, and can even negotiate better deals on those that you want to keep. And I got to get in a quick message from my friends over at DirecTV here, because I'm sure this sounds familiar. You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another lets you stream your favorite shows, and you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for all the other good stuff, right, that you're missing out on. Let me tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment that you love without the hassle. A great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no more need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That is directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Joining us now is, of course, our fearless leader, David Locke, host of the Locked On Jazz podcast. David, this Utah Jazz team is now the owner of the longest win streak in the NBA, courtesy of the Milwaukee Bucks, who banished the Houston Rockets back to the land of tankathon simulations and dreaming and hoping for Paolo Banchero and Chet Holmgren. How does it feel?
Well, they've also got the best differential in the NBA at this point. They surpassed the Golden State Warriors last night, so that's probably the more important thing. This is a good basketball team, and they did not come out of the chute particularly well to start the year, but right now they're clicking at a pretty high level.
Rudy Gay didn't join this Jazz team until midway through November after recovering from offseason surgery on his heel. He's got 12 games under his belt now, and the Jazz are 10-2 in that stretch, including this recent 7-game win streak. How big has he been for this Jazz team?
It's just another piece. I mean, it's just Eric Paschall was playing who really is not a good shooter, and so in those circumstances, they actually didn't have 4 shooters on the floor, but now they have 4 shooters at all times. The interesting one too, by the way, the 2 losses are both really bizarre. I don't want to get into it, but the 2 losses in the Rudy Gay stretch are both cases where the Jazz had won games. Plays went to review. They won the review. It opened the door up for the other team to actually have another chance, and the other team hit a 3 to win it. So I know. Kind of one against Memphis, one against New Orleans. Jazz didn't play particularly well in those games, but they very easily could have won 13 straight at this point.
I was about to say, and those 2 losses coming, very, very close margins there. Obviously, like you said, with the weird situations occurring in them. And was there anything that happened in either of those losses that were just kind of like a moment, like maybe a wake up call for this Jazz team, where hey, we need to be a little bit better. We're a better team than this.
The New Orleans loss was not great. I mean, New Orleans is not very good, and the Jazz, I think, got. They got bit. They tried the easy route, and I think they got bit. So, but Quinn Snyder teams over the years have always developed as the year has gone on. That's always been the signature, and I think even at this level, we're seeing that as well. They were okay, and right now they're dominant. I mean, they've won 7 in a row, and 5 of the 7 by 20 or more. You just don't win NBA games by 20 points. That's just not a common thing. And they went on this most recent trip. With the number 1 offense in the NBA, and the idea was they were about to go play the best defenses in the NBA in Boston and Cleveland and Minnesota, and it was going to be a question of whether the offense could hold up, and the offense throttled these teams. And now the offense is so much better than anyone else in the league. It's actually historic. According to Cleaning the Glass, the Jazz are 119.0. The next closest is Charlotte at 113.6. No team in the history of the years in which Cleaning the Glass has kept data has ever been this far above average. This is one of the great offensive teams of all time.
I will say Donovan Mitchell has been superb during this recent 7-game stretch. He's averaging just under 30 a game on 55, 45, 92 shooting splits. He's shooting almost 10 threes a game and hitting them at a 45% clip. That's just unreal. Is he taking another leap this season in your eyes, David?
He is, and I'm not surprised by it. I actually held an extensive conversation with Donovan about how I really anticipated that this would be what he did this year, would take this leap, and this would be the natural step. We're seeing it. It took him a little while to get going. What's interesting is the Jazz are shooting particularly well from 2. So they take the most threes in the NBA. You're so stretched out. Rudy Gobert is rolling to the rim. And then Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley have just the entire world to work in the middle of the floor, and Jordan Clarkson one-on-one, because you're not leaving the shooters. You're not leaving Rudy. And so those guys are also hitting all their twos. The Jazz are the best shooting team in the league in the paint non-restricted area, which is, it's not great. You don't want a lot of shots there, but the Jazz take the most threes in the league. So they're not falling in love with that. But when they have to go to it, they're very good at it.
Sticking with Donovan Mitchell here for a moment, you said you kind of envision him taking this leap. Is it because of the way that the Jazz are playing, and you're talking about the spacing and just their overall systematic approach to their offense, or is it some individual? Is it just the raw talent from Donovan Mitchell kind of showing itself now, kind of hitting another gear that he hasn't hit before?
Actually, if you look at Dame Lillard and Bradley Beal's careers, it's a very natural next step. He's not entirely doing it. So he took the jump from 7 to 9 threes. Now he's taking the jump from 9 close to 10. And then he went from 4.5 free throws to 6. And he hasn't held the free throw numbers because the league changed the rules. But if he had held that number of free throws, then he very naturally becomes a 30-point-a-game scorer. And it's exactly the path that Lillard and Beal were on along the way. But Donovan's having his best shooting year. I mean, if you just look at his effective field goal percentage over the last years, 49 to 51 to 52, and now to 54.
Year in, year out, we've talked a little bit about the Jazz offense, which is historic this season. It's highly potent. But year in, year out, the Jazz are also one of the top defensive teams in the league. And at the heart of that defense is none other than Rudy Gobert. A few days ago, Minnesota Timberwolves Anthony Edwards took a shot at Gobert, saying that Gobert didn't scare him or anyone else, and that Kristaps Porzingis was a better rim protector. David, what do you think of these comments from Anthony Edwards? And take a moment, well, if you need to, stifling your laughter, to explain the impact that Rudy Gobert has on this game from a defensive standpoint.
Well, the first thing is I would hope for Patrick Beverley and Anthony Edwards that they can break their 5-game losing streak against Portland, because winning actually matters. The Jazz have the best winning percentage in the NBA since 2016-17. Like, that's it. Like, that's all you need to know. There's only been one constant. There's 2 constants. 3. I'll give Joe Ingles some credit, but I don't think he's that important. Quinn Snyder, Rudy Gobert. Otherwise, that's it. Joe Ingles has been on the team every year. Otherwise, 2016-17, best record in the NBA. Like, at some point, you got to decide the guy's pretty good if he's the one constant on the team that has the best record in the league. Defensively, he's amazing. Every team in the league's trying to move him out of the way, attack where he's not. That's the whole concept. He's recently contesting 21 shots a game. If you start to think about that, he's not on the floor for all 86 shots, so he's actually on the floor for about 60 shots a game. By the opponent, he's contesting 21. He's contesting 33% of the opponent's shots. Teams shoot, I think, 14 percentage points below league average when he's the closest defender. Like, the impact's massive.
There are, David, right now, 3 clear-cut top 3 teams in the Western Conference, and it's the Suns, the Warriors, and the Jazz. They're all a cut above the rest of the Western Conference right now. The Suns are fresh off of a finals run. The Warriors are the Warriors, and they look quite lethal this season. The new and improved Warriors, if you will, and they don't even have Klay Thompson back just yet. Do the Jazz deserve to be mentioned in the same tier as those 2 teams? And if they do, or are they just are they in their own little spot just below those 2 teams, but still above the rest of the Western Conference?
Well, their differential's better than those 2 teams, so I think they probably deserve to be mentioned in that group. And they had the best regular season record last year, and they ran into the Clippers, which was a matchup that, was unfortunate for them. So I think they deserve to be in there. I think that's what's interesting, is that there's almost no scenario where those aren't the top 3 seeds in the West, where 25 games into the season, we already know those are 1, 2, 3. In what order, we don't know. But I don't think there's a 4th seed to come get them. Now, once the playoffs start, if Kawhi Leonard's healthy and the Clippers are the 4th seed, then they're a real force, and that 1 seed becomes, something you probably don't want. But those are the teams right now. And then over on the East, what's really interesting is I have some doubts on Brooklyn right now. They haven't really beat any other of the good teams. And Milwaukee is 11-1 when healthy. So what seemed like a season of about 11 or 12 title contenders is getting very thin very fast.
David, I wanted you to take a moment right now. Who's a guy that maybe you want to give some credit to for the productiveness of this Jazz team that's maybe not getting a proper amount of fanfare, just as we're on the way out here?
I mean, it's an interesting question. I'm not I never know what the proper amount of fanfare is. It is probably worth noting that Mike Conley, I think, I'd have to check after last night. Leads the NBA in three-point shooting with players who've taken at least 4 a game at 46%. His effective field goal percentage right now is at 63%. I'm not sure these numbers are sustainable. Mike Conley at 34 years old is having the best season of his career.
All right. Well, David, you're going to have everyone covered for all things Utah Jazz over at the Locked On Jazz podcast. Appreciate you coming on Locked On NBA with me.
My pleasure, Jackson. Hope you enjoy being the new lead dog on Mondays.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.